Hello friends, and welcome back to my hobby home. My name is Cathy. Thank you so much for joining me today. We are working on our jelly roll quilt called the Star Watch. I was hoping this was going to be the last session, but I don't think it is going to be because I still have my middle border and my outer border to cut and sew together. And I don't think that's going to happen today, but that's okay. So what I have here is, this is my inner border. These are my sides right here. And this is my top and bottom inner borders. So what we are going to do today is start putting our inner borders on. I have my pattern here. I need to just get everything out of the way, really, so I can get on this. What I have done is folded my quilt top in half here, and then folded it in half again. And I have pressed, so I have some creases in my quilt top to help me put the sides and all on. So let me see which. This is my top. This is my side. So I am going to just open up my side here. And I have done the same thing to my border strips here. I have folded them in half and then in half again. So what I have to do is open this up, make sure this is my correct side. This is where I have the seam sewn together. So what I have to do is find my center, which is right here. I match that center up there and pin it. And then I'm going to have technically like quarter marks on here. This would be like my half. This is going to be my quarter here. So I will pin these together. I am thinking my quilt, I should have measured my quilt and then cut my borders, but I did not do that, guys. So see, it's going to have a lot of difference here. Yeah, and these are, it is a big difference here. I'm afraid these are not going to work. That is too big of a difference. So friends, what we do when things don't work, we just take it apart. We're going to make it work. So one moment, what I'm going to do is do my measurements. I'm going to sew additional fabrics to all of the pieces here, and then I am going to measure out based off the measurement of my quilt. Well friends, I am back, and I'm going to tell you what I figured out. I was putting the wrong border on the wrong side. I was trying to put the top border on the side because the top is not as long as the side. Go figure. But then when I did get that figured out and I started sewing my border on, I did a rookie mistake. I forgot to cut my mic back on. So I have that inner border on. And I thought, well, I had a whole 50-minute long video there that had no sound on it, because instead of pausing, I actually just shut my camera off because I didn't know how long it was going to take me to remedy the situation. And when I did that, I forgot to cut my mic back on. It is what it is. But hey, guess what that means? We're getting on the middle border now. So I have I'm covering my makeup with my quilt. So this is my middle border. I am going to find my center, and we're just going to get in it, guys. We're just going to sew because it is getting late, and I want to get this done so I can have this out for you guys tomorrow. And I hope I'm not trying to upload and all that while I'm at a doctor's appointment, because that doesn't normally work very well. I have realized using my cell phone data does not work so hot. But we're going to go ahead. I'm looking at this going, wait a minute, it's not supposed to go that far. Yes, it is. It goes from top to the bottom on the sides. So, y'all, when things like that happens, my brain turns to mush. But we're getting it done. So now what I will do is carefully pull this around. Y'all know me. I pin myself. If I got 10 pins, 9 of them's probably going to poke me. But it's part of sewing some days. Have to get everything laid up here and out of the way. Make sure everything is lined up well. And for some reason, today has been pretty balmy, and my glasses are wanting to slide down my face. So if I keep having to move my glasses, y'all, that's all it is. It's just kind of balmy today, and my skin is kind of slippery. But definitely make sure your edges are lined up on this, because you don't want to miss some of your fabric on the back. Like I did putting the inner border on, I ended up having to go back and sew some stuff that did not catch. That's what I always tell y'all. You can catch a lot of things in the seams. And I'm going to tell y'all, Miss Ava catches a lot of things for me. And I don't know how I missed some of the things, but I have found that if I put a border on, that's probably one of my least favorite things, because my quilt is not always even on the edge. I really need to start trimming my quilt tops before I go putting borders and things on to make sure they're, you know, even. It makes it a lot easier if you got an even edge. Mine is never even. And I know I cut my pieces right, but somehow it's just not even all the time. But it works out in the seams, or it works out in quilting, in the quilting. And, you know, the end product is still a nice quilt. I meant to call today, but I realized that the quilt shop is not open on Mondays. I don't think they are. I just remembered it that it was Monday, and they're not normally open on Mondays. But I didn't even check to see if they were, so because it's okay, because I just have a quick question to ask Miss Ava about if they can trim and bind my quilts for me. I'll just go on and start letting them do that. And I'll just pay somebody to do it. It's easier for me to do that than to try and find it. See, just doing the quilt top, this is pretty big on my table here. You know, just to maneuver the quilt top around on my table is hard enough, than trying to bind it with it quilted and all that extra heaviness there. That makes it a little more difficult to bind. And they have a lot more room than I do, and I really like making the quilt tops a whole lot more than I do the binding and all that. But what I'll need to do is make my binding and carry that all up there as well. I got to make my binding anyway, so if if don't have somebody that can do that right now, I can still do it. I don't mind binding. I would just rather be putting a quilt together. Putting a quilt top together. I have been staying pretty busy trying to finish up projects. I'm hoping to finish this one up this week at some point, because I need the 15th. Tuesday's 14th. 15th is Wednesday. That is when Tammy's first clue of her Reflections mystery quilt comes out. Guys, I'm so excited about that. There's so many people that have already signed up to do it. Tammy's link for her channel is always in my description, because Tammy and Alicia and myself are collabing on Yuletide Sampler 2. So I always have their link to their channel in my description. If you would like to go to one of their channels and check it out, Tammy's, you will need to sign up for the mystery quilt. It is free, and she does give you the fabric requirements to do the mystery quilt. I don't know if she tells you all the fabric you need. I hope she gives us like all of the cutting instructions in the first video or the first email. She emails the clues. But because it's easier for me if I can go in and just cut it all at one time. Because if I don't cut it all at one time, I may end up not having enough fabric, because I may cut it wrong. Very, very likely that I could cut it wrong, and I don't want to. I want to make sure I cut it right and have enough fabric. But I'm really excited about that mystery quilt. Now, she knows I do not like flying geese. I'm not good with them, guys. I'm not good with flying geese. But if her quilt has flying geese in it, that's okay. It's just a little more practice for me. And maybe one day, instead of falling over geese, I will have flying geese. Okay, I now have this pinned from top to bottom. And I think I've told y'all before how I do my borders. I actually pieced it together just like I do binding at an angle. I don't know why. It doesn't make a difference, really. I like to have that angle going, and like I said, I don't know why. It actually makes it more visible, I think, if you do that. I piece it that way, and yeah, I have selvage on the end of this. I didn't cut my selvage off. So it's going to be part of my border. It'll be fine though. I'm going to stretch this out, make sure I have this lined up. But what I do is I fold my quilt top in half to measure. I measure across the center now. I was measuring across the outside, but now I'm measuring through the center and getting my measurement for my borders. But what I also do is when I fold it in half, I fold it one more time in half, and I press the edges of it to make sure I have a crease. And when I go to putting my borders on, I match my creases because I do the same thing to my border fabric. I fold it in half twice and press it. That way I have markers to where I know my center should be at and where my quarter markers should be at. And thank you to Miss Sheila for telling me about that. That has been I don't know if my quilts are any better than they used to be, but I feel like that is getting me in the direction of being a better quilter. I have a long way to go. I have a long, long way to go. I'm not one of these that my edges match up real good all the time. I'm just not one of those. And you have some quilters that their stuff looks like it just comes out so perfect. That's not me. That's not me. If you want perfection, I'm sorry, you're on the wrong channel. I like to just sew, and I love it for y'all to come along with me and sew with me. All the creative minds coming together and making something beautiful, making the world a better place. A prettier place, at least. A warmer place, too, because, you know, it gets cold. You can have you a beautiful little quilt to get under. I have gotten to where now, when I'm sitting in my living room, I always have a quilt across my lap. But it does get cold in my living room, and where my chair sits, the air vent is right next to it, so my legs get cold. Sometimes my feet. But my grandbaby, he was here a little earlier, and he was playing. And when y'all were watching this, I should be back home, but my husband has to go to a doctor to have his leg checked, where he was in an accident at work, and they think it popped a muscle or stretched a muscle or something. Yeah, I've got some threads here. This is a good thing about sewing borders on. I can see when I need to trim up a lot of threads and kind of cleaning up my quilt top a little bit, because I don't want it quilted with all that on there. And now I did say on Stitched in Face Facebook group that there is going to be another, I don't know if it's called a craft fair, a quilt fair, or whatever, but I am going to have a quilt put in there. Miss Sheila was trying to tell me the other day, and Miss Sheila, if you're watching, was it the Starly? I thought about that on my way home after you and I were talking about that, and I had told you I'd put one in there, and you had told me I should put one of my first quilts in there. And the very first quilt that I did was, it was a Anna Maria Horner fabric, Brave. Or I'm trying to think of what I want to call it whippoorwill, but it wasn't whippoorwill. It was like windmills or something. But that was probably the very first quilt I had. But then I did no, that one came after the Starly. The Starly was the very first. I did that one at Kristen with IC Starts Quilting. I went to her retreat in 2024. And I went to her retreat in 2025 as well, in the earlier part of the year. And the first year that I went, we had, it was a Cotton and Joy pattern called Starly. And I know I had asked her, I kept asking her, what's the pattern going to be this year? What's the pattern going to be? Well, she said she had decided not to do that because she realized a lot of people were at different levels. And that starly pattern might have been a little difficult. I don't know. That I might have done the Anna Maria Horner before that. I could have done it before that. But the Anna Maria Horner quilt that I did, Whirlwind or something like that, I can't recall. I cannot recall what it was. I could see it bright as day. I mean, I have that quilt in my living room. My grandbabies love that quilt because it's got all these bright colors on it. It's a beautiful, beautiful quilt. But I'm not real sure which one I'm going to put in there. It may be that one. Because that is the one that I had them do all of it. That's the one that I had left with them as I was heading to Kentucky when my granddaughter was born. Okay, so I have this side borders put on. So now what I'm going to do is bring it over here on my pressing and press it out, and then I will be cutting my top and bottom middle border. So I'll be right back. And we are back ready to put the top and bottom middle border on. I have to say that because if I don't, you may think I'm done, but I'm not. I still have a outer border to put on this, and it's going to be blue. This brown, I don't know. I'm kind of questioning the brown, but I know when I get it put all together with the blue on the other side of it, it's going to come out pretty good. I do like the brown. It is not from the same line, but it is, I think, about the same tone of brown that is in the quilt already. And that's what I was going for. I was just looking for the border fabric, and I found a blue and a brown. It was one of those situations where I didn't second guess myself at all. I saw it. I was like, matches, let's go with it. Because I was on a time constraint the day I did it. I went and got the fabrics. I actually think it was the day I was getting my hair cut, and I was like, but I got to get this fabric. I got to get it now because I had a whole day of things going on. And I have found a lot of times your first choice is normally your best choice. So I didn't second guess myself at all. So let's get this border put on. And after I get the top and bottom middle border put on, we will call it a day because it is getting, it's getting pretty late here. And the bad thing is, since I'm not going to be working tomorrow, I kind of let myself stay up later. But this does look like it's turning out really nice. I love this pattern. Once again, this is Star Watch. It's Carry Away Quilting. Very beautiful pattern. It is down in the description. If you are interested in doing this quilt, the pattern is down in the description. Now I've got to roll my fabric out from under itself here. That makes it a little difficult when you're trying to sew if it's all rolled up under itself. we are just about done with this. Is this the top one? No, this is the bottom. The top one has the star. The top of the quilt has the stars on it. And the bottom doesn't. So friends, I think once I get this done, I may take it to the long armor. I am thinking about doing my border in the remaining. I need to make sure I have enough to do this. But to use the remainder of the jelly roll that I had and do a scrappy border with it. I mean, a scrappy binding with it. But I will have to get that outer border on it to determine if I have enough or not. I may try to finish that outer border tomorrow evening after I work on my Whip It Wednesday, my Merry Christmas quilt. And that is coming along quite nicely as well. But that is a good bit away from being done. Yeah, I'm sorry I looked over there. I had something catch my eye on my shelf over there. As I looked over at y'all, sometimes that happens. Sometimes things catch my attention. Okay, so we have the bottom middle border on. So now let's turn it around and get to the top. I'm going to drop it down here in front of me so I can actually open it up and it's not rolled up anymore. And we can start pinning our border. And we are now getting our top middle border on. The goal today was just to get that inner border done. So being because I had a mishap with my mic and didn't cut it on, back on, in the first segment of the video, I'm actually getting my middle border done. Sometimes mishaps make great strides, don't they? They make things happen. But this will make it easier for me. I may even do it in the editing of this video, be able to get my outer borders cut and sewn on. That's when I do a lot of my behind the scenes sewing or pressing, is while I'm editing a video. Because the length of the video, right now this one is at 45 minutes. It takes double that amount of time to edit a video. I know most of y'all don't care about that, but but that's what it does. So I have about an hour and a half of editing that I have to do. So I have about an hour and a half of sewing and pressing that I can do. But if it's on the weekend, a lot of times I use that editing time to be getting ready to record my next video for you. Getting my things put away and getting my next project out and ready to go. And do I always record a second video? No, I don't. Sometimes I pull it out and I'm like, I've had enough for the day. I've had enough. It's time to go play with the grandbaby. It's time to go eat. And sometimes I will just let it sit there. And I am down to my last pin here. So I only have 1/4 of the width to do to be finished. So I will show it to y'all. I won't press it before I show it to you, but I will press it after I end the video, so we can prepare it for the next border that will be sewn on it. Okay, friends, we are done with that middle border. So let's see what that middle border is looking like. We are going to see it together. Look at that. So we've got our inner border, which is the cream, and the middle border is this brown. I think that looks really good. It's the brown with blues in it, so it works. It looks really good. So friends, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come and see what I've got going on the sewing machine. I hope it inspired you to pull out an unfinished quilt top and maybe throw some borders on it, get it done. But friends, once again, I appreciate each and every one of you. Please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you have not yet. Feel free to leave a comment. Tell me what you think. I do try to respond to each and every comment personally. And as always, until I see you again, I hope you have a very blessed day. Bye, guys.